guys, today I'm here to talk to you about this blue thing right here. You guys will find this in your kits. This is called a potentiometer. All right, let me spell that out for you guys, just so we know. It is a potentiometer. Okay. Now, as we look at this potentiometer, it's right here. I want you to notice a couple things. One is it's got 3 legs. All right, I'm going to teach you what those 3 legs do, what they represent, and how we use that in a little bit. But for now, it's got 3 legs. Secondly, I want you to notice this thing right here. It's a dial. It can turn. You see that? It can turn. So think of other things in your house that can turn. As I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of a washing machine. If you have a washing machine at your house, you might have a dial like this that can, and what do you do with it? The dial, you probably set, how long do you want it to wash for, or maybe it sets the mode of washing. Like, is it for towels, or is it for like a light wash where you don't have to wash that much? It might have a dial. Another thing that might have dials like this is something around your house, like a lamp. You might have a lamp where you can set how bright it is. Like, if you turn it all the way this way, it's super bright, and then if you turn it down, you can turn it down, and it would be super dim. What else? Old TVs also had these dials on there, so you could set the volume. Okay, so nowadays you just have a remote control and you just press buttons to make it change the volume. But back in the day, when I was watching TV, you had one of these dials on there, and you can change how loud the TV is. So if you turn it all the way down like this, it would be turned down, and then if you want it a little bit louder, you would turn it like that and keep going. Okay, so like this would be super loud, and my parents would be like, hey, turn that down, it's too loud. Okay, so that's a potentiometer. Now, the reason I brought up all these examples is because, and I said that's a potentiometer because, like, things like the old school TVs that had these dials on it, a light where you can dim the brightness, or even the washing machines where you can set how long it washes for, the mode. It's actually a potentiometer in there. So we're going to learn about how that works and why we use them. Okay, so let's put this to the side and let's look at the word potentiometer. So I like to break it down whenever I think of, whenever I'm considering new words, I like to say, okay, what is the word made out of? Well, this word potentiometer is actually made out of 2 words. We have potentio and meter. Now, potentio, okay, maybe it's not, never heard of potentio. You might be wondering what that is, but you may have heard of this word. Potential. So potential is a word that we use in English when we describe something. It's like some kind of energy or some kind of goodness that is in something or someone, and it's inside of them, but it hasn't come out yet. So one example of that is, like, for example, like for me, I really like watching basketball. Okay, and I used to play a lot of basketball. So one thing I would hear my coaches say when I played basketball is, they would say things like, hey, you have a lot of potential. Or maybe they would be looking at another player and say about another basketball player, you have a lot of potential. So what do they mean when a coach says something like that? What they're saying is that, hey, you have the opportunity. I can see it in you. You have the opportunity to be really, really good. But it's potential because it hasn't come out yet. So that's what potential is. It's some goodness or some energy that's inside someone or something, but it hasn't come out yet. Now, as I mentioned, that potential is not just used in things like basketball. Another way that we use potential is actually in electronics. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to explain this a little bit. Now, thinking back to our noggin, right? This is our noggin. We had, I'll put N here for noggin. We had this thing called 5V, and we had this thing called GND. So 5V meant 5 volts, and GND meant ground. So what if I told you that as I'm talking about 5V and GND, what I'm really talking about is potential. So in electronics, potential is actually the difference between plus and minus. So what's plus and minus? Well, in this case, 5V is plus, and minus is GND. So if I were to tell you what's the potential between 5V and GND, I would say, well, it's the difference between plus and minus. So plus is 5V, and then it's a difference between it, so it's minus. Now what's GND? Now I may not have said this in the past, but GND is actually a V as well. What I mean by that is that 5V is a V, right? Because it starts with 5 and it ends in V, so it's got a V. GND is a V too, but we just like to call it GND. So I'm going to draw a little line here. GND, it's actually the same thing as 0V. So I don't know if your minds are blown right now or if you knew that already, but GND is same as 0V, which is 0 volts, okay? So 5V or 5 volts minus 0V or 0 volts equals how many volts? 5 minus 0 is 5 volts. So how much potential is between 5V and GND? 5 volts. Okay, so you're asking me, Mr. Ed, what does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? Why do they call it potential? All right, here it is. When I take a battery, so usually what happens is I have to take that battery and I connect it to the noggin here. And remember that there's a rectangular battery that I connect to there. Once I do that, the noggin, a light comes on, right? So he turns on. This is my little signal for he's turning on. So I put the battery in, turns on, and then 5V and GND now becomes something. So 5V and GND becomes 5 volts. Now, how do you know it becomes 5 volts? It's because the light turns on here and you know that there's power here. And when there's power there, 5V and GND becomes 5 volts of potential. Now, okay, that makes sense. So you have a noggin that's turned on, and then you have 5V minus GND, you have potential. Now, I ask you something. If I don't connect anything to 5V or GND, does anything happen other than this light turning on? No. 5V and if I don't connect anything to 5V and GND, it's just energy that's stored inside the noggin, but nothing's really happening. The only time that something happens if I connect something to the 5V and GND. Like if I connect, remember, like I would connect a light or something, maybe a resistor, and connect it like that, right? Or maybe remember I connected the ultrasonic sensor, and there's some lines that go here and they connect. Okay, I'm not going to draw all the specific lines here, but these all connected to the noggin, right? So, and then two of these went to 5V and GND. So if I connect an ultrasonic sensor to 5V and GND or a light to 5V and GND, then something happens. Only when I connect it is when the energy comes out of the noggin and something happens. So do you see what's going on here? let me go back. Okay, so earlier I said potential, right? When you're talking about a basketball player that you think they're going to be really good, but they're not quite good yet, but you think they can be really good. So that means it's like they had some goodness or some energy in them, but it's not out yet. So that's why you call it potential. Now moving to the noggin, if I don't connect anything to the 5V and GND, nothing's happening. The energy is inside there. There's some goodness inside the noggin. There's some power inside the noggin, but because we didn't connect anything, it's not coming out. The energy is not actually doing anything. So that's why it's also called potential. Okay, so that's a little detour talking about life, like potential, and then talking about how potential and this 5V GND thing works. So what does that have to do with this blue thing? All right, I got that. Okay, why does it have to do with that blue thing? So potential, we've established, is this 5V GND thing. Another way to say potential, it equals voltage. Another way to say potential when we're talking about electronics, we're not talking about basketball, we're talking about electronics, it's voltage. So I could say, so next time when I see you guys and we're working with robotics and electronics, I could say, hey guys, what is the potential between 5V and GND? You would tell me it's 5V. I could also say, hey guys, what's the voltage between 5V and GND? You would say 5V. Potential and voltage, it's the same thing. Okay, I hope you're still following me, you're still with me. So potential is the same thing as voltage. Cool. So that means voltage, we could put voltage right here. Okay, so it's like a voltage meter. It's a voltage meter. Now, what is a meter? Well, a meter is something that you can adjust. It's something that you can turn. Okay? Meter is you can turn it. So, a potentiometer is a voltage meter. It's a voltage that you can turn, that you can adjust. So what does a potentiometer do? It helps us adjust the voltage. A potentiometer helps us adjust the voltage. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've talked about a potentiometer helps us adjust the voltage. Let's go to the next step. Okay, so at this point, we have an idea of what the potentiometer is and how we use it, how it's used in household things. Now, let's figure out how we're going to wire this to our noggin. Okay, so I'm going to turn it like this. You can see there's three, turn it this way. 3 legs there, right? All right, so this is our pot here for potentiometer. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you flip it over, you're actually going to see, you may not be able to see here, but on the outer legs, there's a 1 and a 3. Okay, you can look closely on the one that you have. So based off of that, this one here is 1, this one's 3, and then so this one's in the middle, so 2. Now the way we're going to wire this up, we have our noggin here. Okay. And how we're going to do it is 3 is going to go to 5V. Boom. 1 is going to go to GND. And what is 2 going to go to? We're going to go A2. 2 goes to A2. So what's going to happen here, guys, is we're going to connect 5V to the, this is 3 is same as the plus, and minus is the 1, minus is the 1, or the 1 is the minus, okay? So 5E to the plus, GND to the minus of the pot. 2 is where there's going to be voltage, V, and I say question mark. So what's the voltage at 2? Well, you're going to be able to find out by looking at A2 of a noggin. Now, if you haven't taken some of our other classes, you probably haven't used A2 yet. What does A2 mean? This A here, the A here is analog. So I won't get into why analog, what is analog. All we need to know right now is that A2 means analog to. And I will say this, analog, you want to use analog whenever you have a dial like this that you can turn, okay? And it can be many, many different positions, right? Because think about it, it's not like a switch that's either on or off. It could be like all the way on, a little bit on, halfway on, almost all the way on, but not all the way, and all the way on, and all the stuff in between. So because of that, it's an analog. Another way to think of it, have you guys ever seen a watch that is like, so not like this is my Fitbit here. Come on, is he going to turn on? My Fitbit's out of battery. Perfect, of course, right? Okay, but a lot of watches now, they're not analog. They just have numbers that say like 234, like that. But the old watches looks like this. It's got a circle, right, with hands on it. You know what kind of watch that is? The one with a circle face on it? It's called an analog watch, just like this. This is called a digital watch. Okay, anyways, just I like to always connect what we're learning here to real life. So analog, because it's got a dial here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and connect this. Here's my stuff here. All right. So first step is take your potentiometer and put it somewhere so that each pin is on its own row. See that? Each pin is on its own row. There, that works. Each pin is on its own row. Now, pin number 1, let's make sure we got this. Pin number 1, you know what? I'm going to flip it so that it matches this. There. Pin 1's actually down here, which matches this. Okay, so pin 1 is GND. So this row. Now, there's a GND already right here. This black wire is GND already. So I'm going to put it on the same row as that black wire. And then I'm going to take pin 3 up here and connect it to 5V, which is the same row as this red wire right here is already 5V, so I put it in the same row. That red wire is 5V. Okay, super easy. Then I'm going to take a yellow one, and let's do pin number 2 right here. So that's the in-between pin. And I got to go not to pin 2, but A2. So where is A2 on this guy? Well, A2 is actually down here. You'll see A2, there's A0, A1, A2. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're all plugged in. Now we're ready to start coding. All right, guys, we are ready to start coding. Let's go ahead and do this. I have my setup here. I have my potentiometer. I'm keeping this diagram here so you can check it out. And then I have my USB here connected to my computer. Let's check my ports and stuff. Tools, port, that's good. Old bootloader, that's good. And nano, that's good. Okay. So I'm here in my loop. I got nothing in it. I'm going to show you something new here. I'm going to go to communication. And I want this guy, serial print. And you see where it says message here? I'm going to click here and say hello. So what's going to happen here, when I upload, it's actually going to start printing messages to your screen. Okay, so I'm going to click upload, and then messages is going to, they're going to start appearing. It's going to start saying hello on your screen, except you have to remember, nothing's happening, right? You got to click here, serial monitor. Now this thing comes up. Check it out. It's saying hello over and over again because it's going in a loop. It's going hello, 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 hello. You know, I'm curious. Let's change this. Hello. Let's say goodbye. Enter. Upload. And we're gonna, remember, click serial monitor to get that thing. Oh, now it's saying goodbye. Okay, perfect. So why do we want to do this? Well, we want to know what our noggin is actually seeing. So this way, whenever your noggin sees something, it can actually talk back to you. So right now it's saying goodbye. Now we're going to change it so that it can actually tell us, remember this question, what is V? What's voltage? It's actually going to come back and tell us what is the voltage on A2. It's because A2 is connected to pin 2 of the pot. And if you remember, as we turn this dial, the voltage should change because it is a potentiometer, or in other words, a voltmeter. Okay? So here's how we do this. Going back to our code, I'm going to close that for now. We got to go to pins, and here's what we got to do. We're going to get analog pin, not digital pin. We're going to go analog, and we want it to print out analog. So I'm going to want it to go click in there, but look, it's not clicking because it doesn't fit. So we got to go here, and I click on one of these glues. You got to get the glue with the right shape. This one here. Okay. Now what pin number? What analog pin? Let's look over here on my schematic. A2, or analog 2. So I got to make sure I do this. Analog 2. I upload. And then I'm going to open serial monitor. Okay, it's saying goodbye 554. Okay, that's not what I want. It says I want the 554, but I don't want it to say goodbye 554. I want it to say, so right here instead of goodbye, let's say my potential is ... Let's upload. Now it's saying my potential is 554. Now you might be thinking right now, Coach Ed, why is it 554? Are you saying that the voltage here is 554 volts? That's a lot of volts, guys. So that's a good question. It's actually not 554 volts. The reason that it's saying 554 is because the way that it talks back to you, it doesn't tell you the exact voltage. It tells you a number that you have to do some math to. So you have to put some formulas into it so that you can actually get the real voltage. So I'll save that part for later. But basically for now, I just want you to know that 554, it's talking about the voltage here, but it's not the exact voltage, okay? The main thing I want to show right here, get ready for it, is that as I turn this number here, 554, should change. Watch, I'm going to turn it. Do you see it changing? It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. I'm going to turn it all the way. So when I turn it all the way one way, it's 1023. So you should also get that same number, 1023. So basically, when this V, the highest voltage number that you're going to get back is 1023, 1023. Now again, remember I told you it's not really 1023 volts. It's just a number that we have to do some math to. But the largest number that you're going to get for that is 1023. Now, what do you think it's going to be when we turn it all the way the other way? turning. I'm turning. You might be guessing. It's 0. So when you turn it all the way the other way, it's going to be 0. All right. So that's what I wanted to show you today, is that this potentiometer is actually changing the voltage. You watch. Look, I can go back and forth, back and forth. Now I'm just going to do a quick little exercise here. All right. What if I did something like this? What if I just did a little exercise that said, if my analog, let's see, the biggest is 1023, the lowest is 0, and the middle is like 500 or something. So what if I did something like, if analog pin 2 is less than 500, do something. If it's greater than 500, do something. Let's try. So watch this. I'm just going to control, and I'm going to do if else. I'm going to move this for now, and I'm going to have a test, and it's this one here, less than. So I'm going to take this analog 2. If analog 2 is less than, I'll say less than 500, go variables and constants and 1. If it's less than 500, what do I want to do? I'm going to put Ed is the best. I'm going to get rid of the glue. I don't need the glue. So if it's less than, if I turn this and then the analog is less than 500, then it's going to say Ed is the best. What should we say if it's greater than 500? I'm going to clone this. I want it to say Ed is not the best. So if it's less than 500, it's going to say Ed is the best. Else, it's going to say Ed is not the best. Let's try it. Okay, right now, Ed is the best. All right. Oh, I didn't print the analog, but that's okay. So as I turn this, it should change at some point. I'm turning. Oh, see, I turned it. So it must be greater than 500 right now. So I turn that way. Ed is not the best. If I want to turn it and make myself feel better, keep turning. Ah, I'm back. I'm back to the best. Okay, so that's just a very silly exercise. But you can see here, if I can control what happens on my noggin based on the dial. Right? Ed is the best, not the best. Ed is the best, not the best. So you can see now we can actually control our motor too with this dial. So we'll go into that next week. For now, this week we learned about potentiometer, that is actually a voltage meter, and they are able to change the voltage with the dial, and we learned how to wire it up and also print stuff onto our screen. So that's all we have for you. That's all I have for you this week. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you learned something. When you turn on and off lights with the dial, I hope that you remember me and what Coach had said about potentiometer. You can kind of show off and say, I know what that is. That's a potentiometer. Or when you're turning something on a, another one is like old school radios. They also have dials on there. There's also potentiometers on that. And also the laundry machines. If your laundry machine's super new, it might not have any potentiometers, but you can still say, back in the day, there were these dials on it and potentiometers. I'm sure your parents will remember. All right, so that's all I have for you for now. And good luck with this. Have fun with this. Maybe you can make it say some other silly messages based on your dial. Challenge, last challenge. You could say, like, if it's halfway on, say something. If it's 3/4 on, say something. If it's all the way off, say something. So I can make it say all different types of messages depending on where the dial is. So you could play with that too. That's a little challenge exercise for you guys if you have time and you have interest. All right, that's all I have for you. Take care, and I'll talk to you later.